Hey everyone, Aaron here from Rudy Visuals. Hope everyone is doing well. And in today's video, we are reviewing our new video and photo editing laptop. This is the ASUS ROG Zephyrus G15 GA503, and this is coming from primarily the point of view of a content creator. You know, for those of you who are looking at sort of like a mobile workstation for filmmaking, editing, and YouTube, and also if you enjoy some gaming on the side too. So let's talk about why we chose this, some pros and cons, and ultimately, I hope this video will help you decide if this laptop is right for you. Before we do, just in case you're new around here, we are Rudy Visuals and we run our very own photography and videography business. And in my full-time day job, I'm also a video producer for one of the best universities here in the UK. So if you like the content that we're making, consider hitting that subscribe button to see more. So firstly, why did I buy this laptop? So I have a main workstation / gaming PC, which you can watch the video of us building that said PC in the link in the description box below. But as I do a lot of my work on the go and in the office, I also do a lot of editing on this. So this is the XPS 15 from late 2018, and it served us really well over the years. It's just starting to show its age now. It's just basically been killing my productivity and efficiency. So I spent the last 3 months watching every review of like nearly every laptop out there. I considered, you know, a newer XPS, some Razer Blades, a few MSI models, Alienwares, even M1 and M2 Max. But ultimately I settled on this as, for my budget of around $2,000, £1,700, this just ticked most of my boxes, and I just really love the design and look of this laptop too. So the model that we have here is the 2022 version, and ours comes spec'd with the AMD Ryzen 7 6800HS CPU. This is an 8-core CPU with 16 threads. Has the RTX 3080 with 8GB of memory, 16GB of DDR5 memory, and a 15.6-inch QHD 165Hz screen. It also comes with a 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD. And well, this has pretty much been my secondary / portable workstation now for the past 2 weeks or so now, and so far my overall impression has been mostly really positive, but with a few small issues worth mentioning. So I think we'll start with the big one first. Let's just get that out of the way with the performance. Now, if you want to see, you know, in-depth benchmark numbers compared to similarly priced competitors, there are already plenty of videos, you know, out there and articles, so you can do your research and see that. You know, I'm not a professional laptop reviewer, so I don't have a bunch of similarly priced models to compare this with, but what I can do is just show you how this performs compared to my XPS 15 and also my high-ish end PC, because this I think will give you a good general overview of the kinds of performance gains and benefits you can expect from someone who is maybe upgrading a laptop once every few years like myself. One thing worth noting is that ASUS includes this Armory crate software to quickly allow you to change between different power modes, performance, and fan modes. For our use case, we would usually have this laptop on the default performance mode with the wall power plugged in. So starting with Premiere, and with this, rather than, you know, running a bunch of benchmarks, I just wanted to show you a real world example of why I needed to upgrade this in the first place. So here is a typical video project for me within Premiere Pro. This is a graduation highlights film that I shot for work, and it consists of 4K video in 10-bit shot on the A7S III and on the 2018 XPS 15 with a 7th gen i7, 16GB of RAM, and a 1050 Ti GPU. Just simply scrubbing through the footage is, as you can see, it's just not a very pleasant experience. It takes ages even just to change frame, making it just kind of impossible to work. The performance is fine if you make proxies, but then you have to sort of convert and render the footage in the first place to make those proxies, which also takes just a million years on this laptop. So all in all, it's just not great for productivity. Now, here is the same project on the ASUS G15, and as you can see, even at full quality scrubbing, while it's not immediate, you know, it's much more manageable, much more usable. And keep in mind, this is 4K 10-bit footage. It's already color graded, it's got denoiser on it and all kinds of other effects on it as well. Next, let's see how long it takes to render the project into a 1080p H.264 MP4 file. So this is a 3-minute long project. So as you can see, the G15 managed to finish it in around 2 minutes and 34 seconds, whereas the XPS stuttered over the finish line at more than double, 5 minutes and 25 seconds. There's no real surprises there. So let's do the same project render, but with our PC now. So this is with a Ryzen 7 5800X CPU, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, and an MSI RTX 3070. And as you can see, the desktop rendered the same project in just under 2 minutes. So considering that the G15 came fairly close, but in this tiny thin form factor, is kind of really impressive, to be honest. So next up, I used Cinebench R23 to measure the CPU performance, and in both multi and single core, the G15 put up respectable scores, coming pretty close to the desktop PC, with the XPS 15 lagging behind and really showing its age now. To test the gaming performance, we ran the Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark at 1440p on the default high preset with all 3 machines to just see how they would compare. And while the 2018 XPS 15 just, yeah, that 1050 Ti is really starting to show its age now. It really struggled to get anywhere near playable frame rates. The PC, however, absolutely destroyed the G15, but bear in mind a desktop 5800X and a desktop 3070 is still going to be more powerful than the newer 6800HS and 3080 in the ASUS G15, which are both mobile variants. Still, nearly getting 96 frames per second. It's still extremely playable and looks great. Another game that I've been really addicted to recently is Warhammer 3, and honestly I was so afraid that the benchmark would just make the XPS 15 explode, so I'm not even going to bother installing and running the benchmark on that. And once again, the little G15 was outperformed by our PC, but to be able to run a pretty demanding game and maintain above 60 frames per second at high settings, I'm still very happy with that. So all in all, the G15 is a very powerful and very capable and well-performing machine for both video editing, creative content creation, and a very capable gaming PC as well. Moving on to the design and the build quality, I think most of you will agree that the Zephyrus G15 is a very attractive looking device. This is definitely going to turn heads and make you stand out in your local Starbucks among the sort of Apple hipster crowd. It does come in black, but I just love the white with the iridescent design on the laptop lid, where you get this kind of shimmering rainbow effect and this dot design. It's a really beautiful looking device that just really pops, and it kind of exudes premium and class, but it doesn't shout out, gamer bro like other laptops do. The body is made from a blend of aluminium and magnesium, so it does feel very much like a high-end laptop. I also really love the way that the hinge lifts the keyboard slightly up for a more ergonomical typing angle, as well as providing a little bit of airflow underneath as well. There is a little bit of flex on the keyboard when pressed down hard, but in my opinion, nothing too bad. And the same goes for the screen. It does flex slightly, but nothing too alarming. For I/O, well, the G15 is kind of a welcome throwback to the days when laptops actually had I/O. So it's just a really nice change of pace from companies kind of forcing you to live that dongle life. I think we know who we're talking about. It's also fairly lightweight at just under 1.9 kilograms. It's really thin and very portable. They also have no issues with the keyboard at all. It's got sort of typical chiclet style keys, but they have really decent travel distance, no noticeable sort of keycap wobble, and I found it very comfortable to type on even for long periods of time. I actually wrote this whole review on this keyboard and my wrists and fingers were fine. The keyboard is also backlit, which is also a welcome feature, but unfortunately on this particular model, it only seems to come in one color. The trackpad is also fantastic. It's a lot bigger than on my XPS 15, so it took a while for me to get used to, but it's really snappy and very responsive. The 2022 model also comes with a built-in 720p webcam, which the previous model lacked. The star of the show for me has to be the screen. It's 15.6 inches with a native resolution of 1440p with a higher refresh rate of 165 Hz. So for me, 1440p is like a nice middle ground between 1080p and 4K, as it's still sharp enough for most use cases, but it's not so high that it's kind of wasted on a smaller size screen. The screen also features adaptive sync, Pantone validated colors, and covers 100% of the sRGB color space and 100% of the DCI P3 color space, which actually makes it a really excellent choice for content creation, whether you're editing videos or photos. It looks vibrant, it looks punchy, and is really a pleasure to view whether you're doing it for work or for play. I would still recommend using a color calibration tool, however, as screens can come out of the box with slight color hue variations from device to device. The higher refresh rate for me personally personally is also great for better clarity and responsiveness, not only in gaming, but like even just for general desktop use for like editing, etc. I honestly can't go back to normal, 60 Hertz panels anymore, because even just like mouse swipes just feel more sluggish and less responsive to me. My only complaint about the screen is the peak brightness of 300 nits is nothing really to shout home about. Now, cooling wise, even after long editing and rendering sessions or gaming for a couple of hours, the G15 always felt pretty nice and cool. It never got alarmingly hot to me. My only issue is that when it is in its performance or in its turbo mode, the fans can get pretty loud. Honestly, if you're editing or gaming with headphones or even on the speakers on loud, you're not really gonna notice it, but if you are in an office with other people around you, yeah, they probably will, so that's just something to bear in mind. So just a slight amend to the cooling. I have noticed that for longer gaming and editing sessions, the CPU temps can get a little bit high for my liking. We're talking like mid to high 80 degrees Celsius. And the GPU temps are also reaching around 70 degrees and sometimes even higher for more GPU intensive games and rendering. Now, from everything I've read about the 6800HS and the Mobile 3080, these are all well within spec and should be perfectly fine and perfectly safe. It remains to be seen, however, whether this will degrade performance over time, and you can definitely feel that hot air around the exhaust vents. The G15 does get pretty warm after long use, but then again, compared to my XPS 15 and other sort of passively cooled laptops I've used, like the MacBook Air for example, it never feels kind of like alarmingly hot to me. I'm not encountering any sort of major thermal throttling either, so I'll keep an eye on this going forward, but yeah, just worth mentioning. Another thing to mention is that this is actually one of the best sounding laptops I think I've honestly ever heard, thanks to its 6-speaker array setup and Dolby Atmos license. I know most people do just use headphones or Bluetooth speakers, but it's just great to know that the built-in speakers on the ASUS G15 are actually pretty decent and not the usual tinny awful crap that you get on most laptops. As for battery life, the G15 comes equipped with a 90 watt-hour battery, and I was able to get around 8 to 9 hours of standard use with around 2 hours editing 4K video and gaming. And in terms of upgradability, you can open up the back pretty easily, and inside you'll see that the SSD, Wi-Fi card and memory are easily replaceable. There's a free slot here for another M.2 drive and a free RAM slot as well, but it is worth noting that the RAM model included, so our 16 gigabytes, is actually soldered onto the motherboard, so we can't change that out. We can only add another single memory stick. So just take that into consideration, especially if you're thinking about getting a lower end spec with only 8 gigabytes of RAM. So is the ASUS Zephyrus G15 right for you? Well, if what you need is a very beastly content creation machine and you are also interested in playing AAA games at high frame rates, then yeah, honestly, you can't go wrong with the G15 at all with a budget of around $2,000. It's powerful, yeah, it's reasonably thin and light. It looks absolutely gorgeous in my opinion, and pricing for the 2022 models now is pretty reasonable in my opinion for the specs that you get. Despite a few small issues, it's pretty much the perfect mobile workstation gaming buddy for me. So yeah, I'm really happy with it, and hopefully it will serve me a long time to come. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching if you made it this far. If you have any questions about this laptop or laptops in general, feel free to leave a question down there in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, which I hope that you did, give the video a like, subscribe to see more. You can also follow us on socials, all that good stuff. And I guess I should get back to editing some videos. So see you next time. Peace.